Well, good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar. I'm going to thank you very much for giving up your Tuesday afternoon to learn a little bit about marketing, and we're going to focus very much on inbound and outbound marketing. So what you will get is a copy of the slides afterwards, and please feel free to use the chat line at any stage. It'll keep, in terms of if you have any questions. So, if you don't mind, without further ado, I'm going to start with this question. Maybe ask if I'll unmute if everyone's kind enough just to unmute themselves. That'd be really helpful.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, we've got a bit of background noise there, so if everyone could mute themselves, that would be really helpful. Thank you. That's great. Okay, so you wake up in the morning, and do you know how many marketing messages you see during the course of the day? Loads. The answer. That's not a very technical answer, but thousands. The real question, I suppose, when you think about your own marketing, is why should somebody see your message? And the answer to that question is really simple. It's knowing who your target audience is. Ultimately, there's lots of definitions about marketing, but one I think that would be most is just think about getting your message, your audience. And this afternoon, we're going to go through inbound and outbound marketing and show you how you may be able to achieve that aim. Right. Many of you who've attended any of my courses will always know that I start very much with a sort of theory of marketing. And there are only really three ways in which you can grow your company's revenue. Firstly, get more customers. Secondly, get people to get more from your customers. And thirdly, to buy more often. What's happened to the slide? Yeah, so more customers, more sales to existing customers, and people to buy more often. Now, the advice I would offer any business is that I would focus very much on gaining and more from your existing customers. It's considerably cheaper, quicker, as opposed to trying to get sales from strangers. Okay, now you may have seen this before as well. I'm a great believer. I'll give you a moment to read that, but it's very much the heartbeat of the advice I'd offer from a marketing perspective. At the end of the day, people won't remember what you said or did. They'll remember how you made them feel. Think about your own personal experience when you go into a hotel, or when you used to go into a hotel or into a shop, or when you ring somebody up. It's usually the warmth or the coldness you get, have the whole experience. Very much that way. And when you see something online and you think about how it makes you feel, think about when you're scrolling down your social media, what makes you stop at a certain point? And that ultimately is how you can engage best with your clients is by appealing people's emotions. So, we talked about this before. First and foremost, before we do anything from a marketing perspective, is to think very much about the tone of voice you're going to be using. Now, there's 4 tips here, and these are very much COVID-19 tips. Really carefully about these things. So ensure your language and tone reflect compassion. You feel free to be talking about your products without offending anybody. I would think it unwise to run campaigns without a reference to the pandemic, and very much to focus on building relations with your prospects and customers. Many of you have rebelled, I certainly have, when I've got emails through which are very, very sales-centric, straight to the point. We're not into a hard sell type world at this moment in time. I think we're very much into relationships, understanding. We may well be coming out of the pandemic, but we're still still it's in difficult times, and only have to see that 600,000 people, or whatever, have signed on in the last month, and some serious challenges ahead. So, what should you do? And this is the key thing. I'm going to focus very much on these two topics. A lot of this stuff you'll be very familiar with, but not necessarily under this umbrella. So, the idea of inbound versus outbound marketing. So, what is outbound marketing? So, here we are. Here's a bit of a definition for you. Any kind of marketing where a company initiates the conversation and sends a message out to an audience. So you are reaching out. So here are some classic examples, and we'll cover these in more detail from outbound. Often outbound is considered to be a push strategy. You get emails, newsletters, social media, etc. Now, if you go inbound, marketing that attracts customers by creating valuable content and experiences tailored to them. The classic examples are optimization of your website, retargeting of ads, social media, appearing on both inbound and outbound, blogging, videos, and that would be known as a pull strategy. What you have, an alternative title, is the principles about push versus pull. The pull strategy is considered very much to be more modern day thinking, but I'm going to take you through all the elements of it and hopefully give you some examples about where you can use probably both inbound and outbound. Okay, so the right strategy for you. I'll summarize it really simply. Content is king when it comes to the essence of inbound. And I'll come back to this in far more detail. And if you are actually have a new product or innovation or news, you may choose to go outbound. A very, very simple sort of delineation to kind of start us off. Right. Let's go talking about inbound. Right. A little bit of a model for you. Think of inbound very much in these three ways. You like to attract people, you want to engage with them, and you want to delight them. I'll take you through this particular little model. Attracting is to draw in the right people with valuable content and conversations, your trusted advisor. So you think about anything that you post, you want to draw people in. By definition then, if you're wanting to engage, you've got to be able to align yourself with their pain points, their goals, so they're more likely. There's no use in doing anything to attract people if you have the inability to engage. And finally, it's then the next bit to provide help and support, help them their purchase. And I'll explain these in more detail. So attract, engage, and then ultimately delight. The model comes into a flywheel. You've still got attract, engage, and delight. The idea is that when you are attracting people, you are aiming at strangers or existing clients. If you engage with them, they'll then become prospects and then become customers. And in a perfect world, they will then become promoters or influencers. So attract, engage, delight, very simple model. And I'll go through this in a little bit more detail right now. Now here is the opportunity. Think of it this way, that you are, the attract element is very much marketing. Engagement is marketing and sales. The delight, customer service. And then when you're coming to promoters, you are very much having advocates. So attract, engage, delight, and all the elements of your business. So let's go through the attraction stage. Isn't blind date or anything of that ilk, but they say not dissimilar principles. The first thing I can offer you, I think, if you're looking for content, is the blog. That's one method of inbound marketing, is to write content that will appear on your website. Now, before you do anything else, I'll look at this. I'll leave this on the screen for a moment. The question always is, well, what should I talk about? Well, here you are. If you're looking for keywords to add into the content, you can find them on answerthepublic.com. If you're looking for headlines that may be very attractive to entitle your blog, you can try CoSchedule. Topics, HubSpot.com, the blog topic generator, will tell you all about the topics that are trending and where activity out there. And my personal favorite is to use likes of Grammarly. If you're struggling ever with grammar, you want to make it read better, again, you can use Grammarly. Write it out and then you use it in Grammarly. You'll make it a bit more, probably a bit more reader friendly. You will get a copy of your slides. So that's what I would suggest you have to think about if you're ever going to actually blog. That's the next thing, which will appear on both sides of the fence, and we covered this in great detail last week, but I'll cover it very swiftly today, is how to use social media. And I've got 4 areas you think about trying to attract clients, this attraction stage. Think about guides on how to use your products, evidence as to how you can solve their challenges, testimonials from customers, and then maybe thinking about alluding to prospect promotions or discounts. Now, the key thing with all of this is that please, if you're going to post anything from a social media, think about it from the value you're offering your clients. Guides on how to use your product, how you can help solve their challenges. Customer testimonials will support that. And the promotion discount is very much around the additional value you can offer them. A lot of social media is written from the manufacturer, supplier, from your perspective, not necessarily from the client's perspective. There's 4 rules to follow. And I'll give you some examples. Forgive me if you attended the course last week, the webinar last week, you'll see this. But look, Innocent Drinks. We're making healthy drinks and working from home. So they've changed their entitle, and then they've created a maze at the top and their Twitter feed, and they're giving ideas on for using the drinks. So again, it's education, it's value. So think of it that way. Now, British Gas was one whereby you got this lady Natalie, who's offering little videos there on how to use all your household equipment. And here you are talking about repressurizing boilers. It's very educational. It's value to the customers. And the other one I wanted to show, which again I thought was fantastic, was that here you are from Instagram, where the Getty Museum was offering a challenge to clients. They are to take a famous painting on the left and then see if you can replicate it at home. So again, it's fun, it's engaging, so it's attracting, it's a message that is not a hard sell, it's going out there. There's hopefully all sorts of fun can be had with this type of posting. So there's some examples of how to use social media for inbound marketing. But always follow these 3 rules. Educate, not irritate. Make sure the content is helpful and show your value in times of crisis. Hopefully those 3 postings there from Innocent, from British Gas, and from the museum, completely different, have hit the nail on the head as far as those 3 things go. So, the other way in which you can use social media very wisely, and there's an explosion in the amount of is to actually create video. So many of you will have an iPhone or whatever device you have. It's very straightforward to create video, and I think it's far more engaging for many if you're talking to camera and you're actually using video. We covered it in more detail last week, but I think video is a great way of engaging with your clients. The other way is in which is to use snackable content. So very much this is down to using quotes, make it in fun there. You know, a quote is so anodyne when it's just written down, but you can see sort of when it's coming from the words of Muhammad Ali, and they're using the likes of Canva, a great free tool to use there. The creation of memes, you know, here's to that to make us smile. Again, fun there, and also to use GIFs. They're all there, great content. Now, this is a whole topic in itself, and I'm going to cover it very quickly today. Just give you some top tips, but we'll cover optimization in a separate webinar. Now, I think the key thing with optimization, there are books written on this subject, is to know what your keywords are, or what your clients are potentially looking for. And again, I'm going to leave this on the screen for a moment. There's 4 tools to use there: the Google Keyword Tool, Moz Explorer, SEMrush, and Uber Suggest are all free tools. You can pay for the premium version, but you can get some basics in terms of the type of keywords that your clients are looking for, the volume of those. So we'll cover this in a little bit more detail at another day, but there you are, very quick tips there in terms of some tools to use for keywords. And the secret very much is, from SEO perspective, is once you know where your keywords are, that you may choose, a bit like here, Scout Traps are there, then to put those keywords within the content, with the headlines and the paragraphs of your website. So very quick there, but again, it's a great way then of attracting clients. The other way of thinking about optimization is to maybe want to look at this in more detail online. It's something called Google Eat. Now, it's not eat as in what I've been doing since March the 23rd, when you're spending so much time at home, but the word EAT, and this is very much where Google is looking to change their algorithms, that they would want your website to show these 3 things: expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So your expertise, so if you are an accountant, you talk great expertise about accountancy. You have the authority by referring and linking to other relevant websites, and your trustworthiness comes through the certification and your credibility, which is illustrated in these 5 areas that come straight from the mouth of Google. You're thinking about keeping your website with a topical focus relative to what you are. You're keeping your content quality and fresh. If you're going to refer to anybody, you're thinking about having visible authors, naturally cross-referring people. Your brand strength is critical in terms of you're talking very much about your brand and how you're using that. And your trust through design is things like the SSL certificates and the functionality of the website. We'll cover this in more detail on webinars later, but if you want to do a little bit of homework, think about using and looking up Google Eat. These are things that we want your website to do. So that's the attract element, the engage element of the inbound marketing. Well, firstly, the couldn't emphasize enough is to make sure you respond to people quickly. If you had an email or you've had some message through social media, there is books written on the subject. The quicker you respond, the better it is in terms of lead conversion. Secondly, I'm a little anti sending out a robotic email reply if you're having requires. I think it's a great thing to send out a reply, but I'd rather go back with a very much a tailored response, but there's no harm in acknowledging things. The forgotten device of marketing. Engage with your clients. Pick up the phone. I don't think anyone's yet to discover a better means than talking to people. It's a means of understanding their needs and how you can fulfill them. But I think there's very much a shift in a marketing focus to think very much about how you can meet your clients' solutions. 4 tips there in best ways of engaging with your audience. And one way in which you can actually keep a complete track a record is to have a CRM system. So there are many available. Some are free, some are paid for, but to actually track your leads, track your opportunities, see which clients are doing what and to whom. So I'd think about that maybe as a potential investment. Delight. How can you delight people? So, right, not Angel's Delight. Actually, don't know if you see that in the shops these days, but I remember that from my childhood. Right, let's move swiftly along. Here are 5 things in terms of delighting people. One great way is to actually listen in on social media. Some of you might be using tools such as Hootsuite. Listen in to conversations. Many hotels and restaurants, when they were active, and airlines and the likes, a lot of the hospitality industry were listening in to respond immediately. But other businesses can listen in and to see where conversations are taking place relating to your product or service. Using reviews, there's still so much power in terms of getting reviews on Facebook, Google reviews, Trustpilot, TripAdvisor, wherever. It's very common as well in terms of delighting customers is actually to conduct a survey afterwards, or as to see how you performed. Mentioned chatbots recently. Again, a great way there. Someone's actually responded, on your website at whatever time of day, is actually to use the likes of chatbots on your site to actually engage there. And most importantly, it's about getting and keeping customers. You want to engage with them. That's really the output that you're looking for. So that's in quarter of an hour, all about inbound marketing. I'm going to take you through outbound marketing, and then we'll get to a conclusion in terms of what may be best for your business. So, outbound marketing. Here we are, a picture from the days of B-52 bombers in Vietnam. Great. It was often considered outbound marketing to be carpet bombing. So it was very much that analogy. It was very much an aggressive kind of scattergun kind of approach. There are lots of different ways in which you can actually successfully promote, and the classic about advertising being one of them. You can see that as an example in the US about on side of a building. But very simple advertising can take place at very low cost, particularly on things like vans and signage, which are seen by thousands of people. The other way in which you can think about actually outbound marketing is actually to use digital adverts and pay-per-click, examples of which they're on the screen. So that is a way in which you can make an investment in actually promoting your particular product or service to appear on the top page of the Google rankings. It's well documented. If you're not on the first page, you might as well not be there. But again, pay-per-click is a whole topic in itself. Many of you have seen, or many of you haven't been out and about until shops are open, but then the digital out of home, and this idea that digital technology has moved very much out into the street, and you can use the likes of interactive billboards. You see it on the London Underground, you see it elsewhere. And again, you might want to think about that from very much a local perspective. Now, probably the hardest thing to do in outbound marketing is actually to pick up the phone and call people. Now, this, you get a low return. Let's not kid ourselves. And how many of you have had nuisance calls, etc.? But if your cold calling is correctly targeted to the right audience, it can prove to be invaluable. And you might find yourself as the leader of a very small pack. Think about cold calling, maybe something that you may wish to do on a very strategic level. Actually, on the purpose of cold calling, one thing that is quite obvious now is that many businesses have people working from home, and that they're sitting there at home in their office and the phone is by their side. Actually, there's an argument that some of them are actually more receptive receiving a call and not necessarily hidden behind the secretary. There's a thought. Now, email marketing is a form of outbound marketing. Now, here we have to be very careful because we've got the rules of GDPR to follow. We have to think really carefully on that subject. But again, the thing about email marketing is that the open rates have gone up. Bit of a heavy slide, that one. The open rates have gone up since March. But this idea that people are at home in front of a computer, the more responsive the email open rates, so they've gone up considerably. So I would advise thinking about using email marketing, again, using MailChimp or other platforms, as long as you've got a measurement to actually consider there and to track how well you're doing. Here was a great example for me that I got an email through, a few weeks back from the Carriage Works in Leeds, talking about their family panto, and you can see something there, challenging time, they're desperate to welcome you back. And so they're asking for my thoughts about whether I'd go back to the theatre or not, and under what circumstances I'd go back to the theatre. Just question, not hard sell, please come to me. This is a great way in which you can actually engage people by using email marketing from a questionable perspective. Now, direct mail. Oh my goodness. It's exciting when you get a letter. A letter came through my door the other day, and I ran downstairs, past the butler, past the gamekeeper, past the maids, up to the front door, and there it was, a letter. Now, joking aside, direct mail works, if it's very carefully targeted. If you had a business and you're trying to reach local consumers, it's an obvious thing to do that you would put mail through people's doors to actually achieve that aim, because your aim is local consumers. Again, you hit a lower success rate of 1-2%. But I think, again, it's a means, if it's carefully targeted, you want to try it. It's quite an inexpensive way of reaching particularly consumers. Also, one thing you might want to think about is content discovery. Probably an unfamiliar topic to many people, but often you find that there are websites, affiliates, where you can actually go there and post items very much and have your linking to your website. So you think about affiliates and content discovery. Again, we'll cover that more when we come to SEO. But again, there are great places to go. Classic examples of affiliates are things like Welcome to Yorkshire, Compare the Market, various different places to go where you can actually be as part of another website which is getting far more traffic than yours. So, an outbound strategy, eh? Right. What can that be? Here are 4 tips. Think very carefully about researching your audience. Absolutely no harm whatsoever in picking up the phone to one of your existing friendly clients and asking them, if this type of campaign would appeal to them. You're using them as a benchmark. Always check out your competition in what they are doing. One best way of doing that is to use the likes of Google Alerts, so you can see what activity they're posting online. You can follow them on social media. You can use the likes of Mention and Hootsuite and tools like that to help you out. Now, here's a memorable message. Now, you think about memorable messages. I could probably guarantee you maybe the first that comes into your head are things like this. Now, I have to be quite careful because we're on the world of politics. Stay at home. Get Brexit done. There are two taglines there that are very easy to say and are done. The choice of words is very deliberate. It's easily understood. It's very clear, unequivocal about what the actual aim is. Think really carefully about making your message equally as memorable. And then you think about the platforms that you wish to choose in terms of your outbound marketing. Okay, so now here's something for outbound marketing. Many of you might be familiar with this principle about guerrilla marketing. And here I'll show you some examples where businesses have taken a real challenge come risk. And you can see how McDonald's have used a crossing point. So let's go to the zoo. Fantastic graphics used on a bus there in terms of, actually the way that you have made something which is very, very memorable, very exciting. And there you are. I saw this the first time. You're at an good old days we used to go to an airport. I first saw this with a piece of luggage going around, but it's this disruptive principle that you're in there and it's actually taking place in front of you. But it's extremely clever. You may wish to think about things like that. A classic example of this guerrilla marketing, disruptive marketing, is imagine if you were a gardening business or a painter and decorator. You've got a van, it's signage, and it's when you're actually visiting a client, you park it in a place where your van is visible. It's a much smaller scale than the three examples we've given. So let's go through the pros and cons of outbound and inbound marketing. Inbound, the advantages: it's unobtrusive. So you are sharing, not selling. So there's an education element, and often it's considered to be cost effective. So the principle is you're not interrupting everybody. It comes at a downside because inbound doesn't always work in competitive markets. It does require your audience to do something, have to search, and then you may end up creating a demand for your content and not for your product or service. You actually might end up with a slightly different result than the one you're looking for. So there are the ups and the downs. Outbound marketing is ideal for new product launches. And many companies will follow that particular path. It does work in saturated markets, and you can probably get perceived to be a quicker return. Its disadvantages: it can be spam, unwanted, annoying, etc. The other one, it can be easily ignored. So direct mail going through doors, the pay-per-click at the top, people sometimes refuse to click on that, and it comes at a higher cost. So there are some examples of the ups and the downs. So let's conclude the next 5 minutes and just go through. I'm going to give you an example of a business, a plumbing business, about how they're able to use outbound and inbound marketing. So hopefully this is suitable examples. If I was advising plumbing business, these are some of the things that I would advise them to do. Just chose plumbing as an example. So you might wish to think about investing some time and energy in finding the right keywords for your plumbing business. It's a reasonable assumption. I haven't done the in-depth research, but say you're a plumber in Hull, that people may search for things like plumber in Hull. Hull plumbing wouldn't be that difficult to imagine. There's probably a handful of keywords. One thing that's worth noticing, that there's a lot of activity now in voice searches. People using Alexa, Siri, so they don't necessarily type in Hull plumber, they'll talk into a machine. You end up with long tail keywords. So what you may wish to do on your website is to add in longer sentences. Often that can be done in a frequently asked questions or a help page where you're picking up those longer searches. The second thing I would advise a plumber to do is to make sure you've got a quality website that looks like you are a quality plumber rather than possibly a man with a spanner, and to make sure that that captures the right images and the brand positioning that you're looking for. The third thing I'd advise a plumber probably to do is to make sure they're on the directories. Yell.com, Checkertrade, all those others associated to that. Equally as importantly, to be on Google My Business and to make sure you're being picked up for local searches and to have Google reviews from your plumbing services. I think it's a fair assumption, both from a business perspective and a consumer perspective, that Facebook would probably be the go-to social media platform to talk about plumbing. And the final bit of advice from inbound, I'd think about gathering a database of all your clients and communicating with them by newsletters, Christmas cards, whatever. It's a great way of doing that. And again, giving clients the option to opt in. So 6 things for a plumbing business that I would advise from an inbound perspective. So from an outbound perspective, we're going to be, some will overlap here, as you can see. The likes of Facebook ads, very low cost way of actually promoting a plumbing business, to boost posts and to run Facebook advertising. Secondly, cross refers, to create a database and to be sending out newsletters, a bit like British Gas did in a slightly different way, tips on how to use how to maintain plumbing. The publications like On Your Doorstep, still very common, still well read, both online and offline. The other thing I would suggest, potentially if I was advising a plumbing business, is to create some leaflets. Now, imagine you're working as a plumber at number 10, the High Street. Wouldn't it make sense to park your van outside number 10, put some leaflets through the doors of some of the houses close to where you're working? Half a dozen houses. Again, you'll probably might find that while you're working there, let it come to the door, see your van. Very simple way of generating additional leads. And if you're working for Mrs. Smith at number 10, the High Street, what's the harm in leaving some business cards with Mrs. Smith or some leaflets with her so she can pass it out to her friends? Because who doesn't want to find a great plumber? Final piece of advice for, say, a plumbing business, probably I would think about maybe investing in some pay-per-click. Once you've found your keywords, small investment to see if you're getting more traffic to your website by investing in some paid advertising, either through the display network, retargeting, or search. So taking a very simple example there about using inbound there and outbound. Now, there's 11 things to do there. I would not advise any business to do 11 marketing activities. You can do probably 3 or 4 on outbound, 3 or 4 inbound, do them really well. Because often a lot of plumbing business or a lot of businesses struggle for time, struggle for expertise. So often to do 3 or 4 things really well, or even better, be able to automate a lot of what you do. So, what's next? Well, we're going to have some afternoon tea. Well, in a moment, I would suggest that there is always the option to have a marketing 1-1, which is available with myself if you wish to have that. Secondly, or thirdly, I'll make slides available. And next week, for those of you who like to give up their Tuesday afternoons and avoid escape to the country, we're going to be talking all about branding. So all the pros and cons and how to create a brand, not a logo, a brand. 2 different things. This is me. That is my Twitter handle. That is my email address. And now I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go onto the chat line. I'm going to try and unmute everybody. And if not, can I do that? Has anybody got any questions? Let's go on the chat line. Right. So there's Mark. Does the butler make a good cuppa? He does. Thank you. I was being light-hearted there, but no, good of you to that. Jokes don't get any better, you know. Lizzie, would you recommend the same for business to B2B businesses? Yes. Inbound and outbound, it's the same principle. Think inbound, think outbound, and all the tactics. You may use slightly different platforms, but the same rules apply. That and any other questions? Right. If anybody has, you want to put their hand up and wave to me? Anything else? Can I participate to mute? Can unmute you if you would like to unmute, and you can fire away with questions. We've got a few minutes left. If anybody has anything. Was that Mark waving? Or was it you were waving? Was he just stretching, were you?
Don't know.
Good to see you again. Anyone got
Good to
any
see
questions?
you too, Simon.
If there are no questions, I've stunned you all into silence. If there's not, I will end things by saying thank you very much. Leslie's given a thumbs up. So a very quick tour through that. So copy of the slides will be winging the way to you. An invitation to next week's extravaganza. If you want to have a bit of advice one-to-one, that's available. And if not, I bid you a good afternoon. And by the way, I forgot to mention, we did record this. So if you're really desperate, can't sleep at night, this will be available as well. So I'm going to hang around for a few minutes just in case anybody has some questions. But if not, I'm going to bid you au revoir.
Thank you, Simon.
You're welcome.
Enjoyed it as always.
Thank you. That's nice to hear. I'll send you the money in the post.